breaking the 28-day laws, but the number of products reaching a new high. In 2022, China's public funds suffered a loss of 1.46 trillion yuan, and in the first 3 quarters of 2023, they suffered a loss of 2,006 billion yuan. It is estimated that they also suffered a loss in the 4th quarter, totaling 1.7 trillion yuan for the 2 years. Public funds are further divided into equity funds, bond funds, and money market funds, with equity funds being the most relevant and technologically advanced, and the most discussed being equity funds. Overall, over 90% of equity funds suffer losses, while nearly 70% of funds experience losses exceeding 10%. The overall average return rate is 13.28%. This issue has already broken the 20-20 rule that only 20% of people in the stock market can make money, with less than 10% of funds making money. The size of open-end funds in the United States is close to RMB 20 trillion, and the number of funds is only 11,500. The size of public funds in China is only RMB 25 trillion, but the number of funds is already comparable. Do we really need so many funds? Chinese investors flock to overseas assets. Some investors are turning their attention to overseas markets, transferring their funds to overseas assets, and even willing to pay a high premium for it. One example that best illustrates the argument is that some Chinese retail investors are buying funds invested in Japanese stocks at a 20% premium to the value of Japanese stocks. On the first 3 trading days of last week, the trading price of an ETF launched by China Asset Management Co. was 14%-20% higher than the fund's indicative net asset value. ETF is a trading open-ended index fund that tracks changes in the underlying index and is listed for trading on a stock exchange. Investors can buy and sell ETFs of the underlying index as simply as buying and selling stocks, and can obtain a return rate that is basically the same as that of the index. ETFs are usually managed by fund management companies, with fund assets consisting of a basket of stocks. The types of stocks in a portfolio are the same as the constituent stocks in a specific index, and the proportion of stocks is consistent with the proportion of constituent stocks in that index. In addition to Japanese stock funds, U.S. stock ETFs are also highly sought after by Chinese investors. According to data from Wangder, another All-Asia fund ETF tracking the S&P 500 index closed at an 18% premium to its net asset value last Wednesday. 3. The S&P 500 index has been soaring to a new high. On Monday of this week, both the S&P 500 index and the Dow Jones index hit record highs, with the S&P 500 index rising 0.8% and the Dow Jones index rising 224 points, up 0.6%. The Nasdaq Composite Index, with a concentration of technology stocks, is 1.1%. The S&P 500 index closed at 4,839.81 points last Friday, surpassing the previous closing record of 4,796.56 points set on January 3, 2022.